A research team sets out to discover why Security Operations Center analysts routinely dismiss security alerts. To find the answer, they send an online survey to 200 analysts across the organization. This chart displays the results of that survey. The data reveals a clear trend, with 73% of these analysts regularly dismissing low-severity alerts. The response rate is high, and the math is spotless. But looking closely at the survey design, the team realizes they never actually asked the analysts why they ignore those alerts. A flawless collection process yields useless numbers if the mechanism you use to gather them mechanically cannot address the question you are trying to answer. In research methodology, an instrument is whatever tool you use to turn an observation into a recorded, permanent data point. You can think of these instruments like physical tools in a tool belt. A questionnaire is a measuring tape. An interview is a scalpel. And a digital sandbox, a controlled laboratory. If you grab the wrong tool for the job, you don't merely waste time, you corrupt the relevance of your final results. Designing a valid study requires matching the specific mechanical capabilities of your instrument to the exact nature of the problem you want to solve. A questionnaire relies on a fixed set of written questions, administered identically to every respondent. This structure allows researchers to gather standardized, quantitative data on a large scale. A well-built item on an IT security survey might ask how many unexpected emails an employee reported this month, providing mutually exclusive ranges like 0, 1 to 3, or 4 or more. It should also include a not sure option, so nobody is forced to guess, which would skew the data. This rigid format scales easily to hundreds or thousands of employees. The trade-off is that your findings are strictly confined to the predetermined tick boxes you created. This diagram shows 3 interview structures for psychological depth. Structured interviews ask fixed questions. Semi-structured interviews keep a core list but allow follow-ups. Unstructured interviews start broadly, letting the conversation find its own shape to surface completely unanticipated answers. When relying on human subjects, researchers have to choose between capturing measurable scale across a wide population or surfacing unprompted truth from a few individuals. Not every study relies on a human being answering questions. We can also use observational telemetry. If a team is comparing how 3 ransomware families behave once executed, the digital sandbox itself becomes the research instrument. The instrument collects data through scripted API hooks, file system snapshots before and after, and raw network captures. The scientific validity of the setup depends entirely on whether the sandbox convincingly mimics a real vulnerable endpoint. Modern malware often checks its surroundings. If it detects the simulated sandbox environment, the code simply refuses to execute, remaining in a dormant state. The instrument records nothing. But in telemetry, malware actively evading analysis produces empty data. That is itself a reportable finding about the threat's behavior, rather than a broken experiment. Across all of these methods, we run into the escapable law of research methodology, the fundamental trade-off between reach and depth. This graph maps that dynamic. A questionnaire plots high on the scale axis, capable of surveying thousands of people cheaply, yet it scores low on depth, completely blind to anything outside its predefined options. Conversely, an interview plots high on the depth axis, capturing unpredictable nuance, but it physically cannot scale to large populations. While Sandbox telemetry operates on an entirely different axis of machine observation, human self-reporting always forces you to sacrifice one metric to achieve the other. Picking an instrument is a critical design decision. You have to finalize it long before you begin collecting any actual data. Pick the wrong instrument, and you guarantee that your data, no matter how perfectly collected, will be completely unable to answer your research question.